We're all politics now. We touched on the First Amendment, religious freedom at the top of the program. Now the 14th, which among other things defines what it is to be a citizen, who gets citizenship. Now, as you know, there's a growing movement to change the language, saying that anyone born in America is, with a couple exceptions, an American. Today, Arizona Senator John McCain joined fellow Republicans in calling for hearings on the 14th Amendment. And White House spokesman Robert Gibbs pushed back hard, saying the move is, quote, based purely on politics. It's all about illegal immigration and not allowing the children of illegal immigrants to automatically become citizens. Supporters of changing the 14th Amendment say that the drafters never intended it to apply to illegal immigrants. And technically, of course, they're right. There were no illegal immigrants at that time. There were no laws against immigrants in 1868 when the 14th Amendment was ratified. But as we learned last night from one of the preeminent historians of that period, the debate back then over the 14th Amendment encompassed immigrants' children. Supporters of changing the 14th Amendment say it was only meant to apply to citizenship for African Americans, freed slaves. Here's what historian Eric Foner said about that last night.
False. That's completely false. They were trying to set up, after the Civil War, a new standard of citizenship for the United States. The 14th Amendment was debated for months, and the wording was very, very carefully worked out. If they had meant to exclude any kind of people, aliens, children of aliens, they would have done so.
Well, history and intent aside, the question remains, should the 14th Amendment be altered? I'm joined once again by Arizona State Senator Russell Pearce, co-sponsor of Arizona's tough new immigration law, and political analyst Roland Martin. Senator Pearce, I saw you shaking your head listening to the Professor Foner. You think the intent of the framers had nothing to do with the children of aliens or illegal immigrants?
It was very clear. In the debate, Senator Howard, who wrote the amendment, said it had nothing to do with foreigners or aliens. It was clear.
But
and
they
the
debated the children
made it clear.
They debated the children of Chinese immigrants. There was fear about Chinese immigrants overrunning California. They debated this for months.
Absolutely, but that case was clearly outside. Let's go back to the real history.
That case
First of all,
what?
we had the Dred Scott decision, a terrible, terrible decision that denied African Americans citizenship. The 14th Amendment was written to fix that. Right. It was a tremendous injustice, and it has stolen the 14th Amendment from the African Americans. This is their legacy. And it had nothing to do with aliens at all.
But it distinctly said, because of the Dred Scott decision, they distinctly said birth is what gives the right of citizenship. Birth, not a political clause or anything.
No. Let's again. Here, everybody loves to leave out this phrase. And for those we have jurisdiction. You know, the courts have ruled that meant complete jurisdiction. Do you know the American Indians weren't allowed citizenship under the 14th Amendment?
Because they were a tribe.
Hang on,
that was
and they were born.
Thing.
That's right. They were born in the United States, though. I mean, that's
so
where you're missing the point. You can't ignore that.
I don't want to argue this with you, but we had the preeminent historian of Civil War Reconstruction on last night, the preeminent historian from Columbia University, who says flat out you're wrong.
Well, I can read you the quotes. He can say I'm wrong all day long. Apparently, he hasn't read it all. It's kind of like Eric Holder. You know, reading it apparently isn't an issue, apparently. You know, let's read it, the Constitution. It says those born and naturalized and for whom he had jurisdiction. And right in the decision or the debate, Senator Howard made it clear. He said this does not apply to foreigners or aliens at all.
Roland Martin,
I mean, good grief, this is an abuse.
Let's move beyond.
This is a tremendous abuse.
Let's move beyond the historical argument. Roland Martin, should the 14th Amendment, why should the children of illegal immigrants, people who came here illegally, why should they get automatic citizenship? Doesn't that, in fact, reward their illegal activity, their illegal behavior by coming here?
At the end of the day, it is the law of the land. It is in the Constitution. No. We can all take issue with the Constitution. There are people right now who disagree with the Constitution that anybody can own any number of guns. There should be no kind of gun control whatsoever. But the Supreme Court has ruled. Anderson, here's the reality, and that is this is the kind of Band-Aid approach to the immigration problem that we have. This is a sideshow, okay? And golf is called the silly season. This is the silly season. The problem we have right now is that Democrats and Republicans refuse to step up, truly confront the immigration issue. Even if you change this, first and foremost, it has to get through Congress. Then it must be ratified by various states. But again, even if you do this, you still are going to have 10 million people in this country. So guess what? It's still not going to solve our immigration problem.
Roland?
Senator Pearce?
Roland, I'm very disappointed that you wouldn't recognize the legacy of the African Americans. This amendment was for them. Of all people, you ought to understand that. We just had a summit on this issue.
First of all,
let him finish. Roland, let him finish. Let him finish.
Laugh it away. But this is clear. Senator Howard made it clear. You ignored the Constitution, just like you would ignore those that break in our country. You want amnesty. You ignore the damage to this country. Arizona is doing something about it. We're going to do something novel called enforce the law. And yet, what did we get from our federal government? We get sued. That's the kind of help we get from our federal government, because our approach is amnesty, ignoring the rule of law, rewarding people who break our laws. That's what the 14th Amendment is doing, too. We're inducing people to break our laws.
I want Roland to be able to respond. Roland?
First of all, I can guarantee you, I don't need a history lesson on African Americans from you. I can guarantee you that.
Well,
the point I'm making is, we can stand here. Well, no, excuse me. We can stand here and we can go back and forth, back and forth. The point I'm making is, we have an immigration problem today. We have people in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, who do not want to. No, excuse me, sir. I haven't interrupted you, who don't want to confront the issue. This will not do it. It will not do it. What has to happen is you have to have bipartisan support to be able to confront the immigration problem. Even if you do this and change it, and it might take 5, 10, 15 years, guess what? We still have people in this country illegally. So what do you do? How do you fix that?
Senator Pearce, let me ask you a question. Is your argument, let me ask you, is your argument based, if, say you are, just hypothetically, say you're wrong about what the framers had in mind. If the framers did want to include the children of aliens, can you still make the argument that the 14th Amendment should be changed? Or if, in fact, is the framers' intent the number one be-all and end-all? Or if the framers intended something different than you think, can you still make the argument the 14th Amendment should change?
Just like the entire Constitution, people ought to go back and read what the founders intended when they start saying what the founders intended. It's pretty clear. In the debate that Senator Howard had on the floor, he made clear. Secondly, you don't need to change the Constitution. All it takes is clarification. It was honored that way for the first many years after that. It wasn't until later the Kim Ark decision.
You're saying your interpretation of what the founders wanted is paramount. That if you are wrong, you wouldn't make.
Anderson, let me. Okay, first of all, it's not my interpretation. I'm reading what Senator Howard said on the floor, and the fact is, it was intended, naturalized, born, and for those we had jurisdiction, complete jurisdiction. Okay. That's why the Indians were not included. And let me answer one other thing Roland brought up.
Okay, so what would you do with
all those other folks over here? They leave on their own. Enforce the law. Enforce the law. I know it's a novel idea, but to reward lawbreakers is how you get more lawbreakers.
So you say they're going to leave on their own. You say they'll leave on their own. Roland Martin, will they leave on their own?
They're doing it in Arizona. They're doing it in Arizona.
Okay, Roland, go ahead.
Anderson, first of all, our framers established the Constitution. We had to have the Supreme Court later clarify it. The Supreme Court decided the Dred Scott. The Supreme Court later decided Brown versus Board of Education. This individual and other officials, they are not going to decide what the framers thought. That's the purpose of our Supreme Court. Now, if somebody wants to sit here and sue, they want to do that, fine, go ahead. But to sit here and say, well, we're going to clarify it, that's nonsense. And I'm also surprised the Republicans who call themselves strict constructionists all of a sudden are saying, well, no, we not want to reinterpret what it said because we don't believe it now.
Well, first of all, don't put words in my mouth, because, again, I read the debates. Let's understand very clearly what the Constitution says, very clearly. And at the end of the 14th Amendment,
it's clear.
At the end of the 14th Amendment, hang on, at the end of the 14th Amendment says Congress will regulate this amendment. All it takes is clarification.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there.
You guys go to the extreme. It's like anytime you enforce the law. You're going to round them all up? That's not the issue.
Okay.
Enforce the law, they'll leave on their own.
We're going to have to leave it there. Senator Pearce, we like having you on. I appreciate you being with us. Roland Martin as well.
Thank you.